Folks, we're back. We're here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge. Beautiful Friday morning. It's okay. It's nice. It's not 16 degrees, 18 degrees. Well, we're glad to have Bruce back. Bruce, you've been backpacking through Europe.
I was not backpacking through Europe. I was in Africa.
Sorry.
You scratch around in the dirt in Ethiopia.
Tomato.
So you weren't backpacking through Europe. You were in Ethiopia?
Yes, I was.
All right. Glad to have you back.
Thank you.
What am I talking about? Oh, hi. How are you? Jane.
Yes.
How are you? This is the gang.
I'm great.
We're all back. Candace, Rick, Jane, and Bruce. Circuit World, Blue Ridge. Time for the All-Star Political Panel. I'm searching for something to talk about.
Can I ask something?
Oh, good. You want to interject? You're not here a month. You want to jump right in? Go for it.
No,
we're all waiting to hear from you.
I want an update on the Georgia elections because, as I understand, there's still voting next Tuesday. What's going on?
Raffensperger is a runoff.
Okay, there's a runoff for Secretary of State.
And
next Tuesday.
But Stacy's still not happy that she didn't win.
Okay.
She finds it unfair that she didn't win.
But please. Easy, don't get me going. All right, the simple on that is we do have a runoff in Georgia for Secretary of State between Brad Raffensperger. He's the Republican candidate. He's a businessman, also formerly, I think he resigned to run for office, but he was a Georgia State representative. And Burrow, John, if I get it right, John Burrow down, is he around Savannah? Democrat from around the coast down there, Savannah.
Yep.
Used to be a congressman. Congressman John Burrow is the Democrat. Now, the quick on it, and I'm going to do a full thing on it Monday because Tuesday's election day. But the fast forward thumbnail sketch is Burrow is considered the last real blue dog Democrat that was moderate, conservative, or whatever in the South. He was the last congressman, right, Rick? You with me on that?
Yep.
So there's a lot of, I'm going to go with, there's a lot of people in Georgia, and I'll say an older population that kind of like the guy, all right? Remember him on a Zell Miller kind of, am I right? I mean, are you with me on that?
Sure.
Right? I mean, disagree where you...
No, that's it.
So there's that he plays to a moderate side. Now that's the concern, but the reality is he is a Democrat, and if he gets the Secretary of State's office next Tuesday, why do you think they're running and filing all these federal lawsuits?
Because if he wins, he'll
recount.
Right? No. They're filing federal lawsuits against our election process because, as Secretary of State, he won't fight them. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He won't fight those lawsuits. So Stacey Abrams, what Stacey Abrams is doing now, and groups out there, special interest groups, they're filing these federal lawsuits against our process and things to prevent voter suppression, all those good things that we want to fix. You know, I say that facetiously, right? Well, if John Barrow is the Secretary of State, he will not battle it, put up the fight, or whatever. Bottom line, you see what I'm saying? So we do have a runoff Tuesday. It's very important that the Republican retain the Secretary of State. Now, I'm going to say, I don't know if it's a problem, but one of the problems is Raffensperger doesn't really have the name recognition.
No kidding, no one can say it.
You know what? No. You know what? I don't know if I just channeled that to you. I'm serious because I said to myself, should I mention that you can't even say it? I did. I'm thinking, did I just channel that to her? So that's it on Tuesday. I'm for sure you can.
I was at the election office yesterday, and Chuck and Marianne both said that they've had record turnout for this. Over 350 some people per day. When I left, the line was almost all the way back to the elevator. Early voting started on Tuesday. It ends today. They asked me to show this on the show today and say, don't forget, early voting ends today.
Okay, then what you're doing is you're bringing the good news. You're bringing the good news.
If it channels throughout.
I was going to double down on Raffensperger, and that's part of what I want to talk about Monday. Raffensperger has to have, again, a big rural Georgia turnout. has to. So
Well, they're killing it up there.
If we're doing it in the rural counties, knowing, because the concern is, if the Democrats know they want to come back out. Now, can they get, and I'll say it at the lack of getting everybody all worked up, can they get the African American community to come back out? I doubt it.
You do?
I doubt they can get them to come back out to vote. Stacy's not on the list, on the ballot.
Who's the other candidate? I mean, there's two.
There is a public service commissioner.
That's it.
And I forget his name. That's pretty good. Chuck Eaton. Yeah, Chuck Eaton.
Yeah, the incumbent. He's the incumbent.
Right. So
those are the two things on the ballot.
But I don't want to talk about that one.
I got you.
Neither of them got 50% in the...
Right, exactly.
50 plus 1.
Who got more?
The Republican did. It's not a big difference. But I do know, for what it's worth, the Libertarian has endorsed, like Ted Metz, which did not get a lot of votes in the governor's race, the Libertarian candidate, but he has endorsed John Barrow.
Yep.
The Libertarian candidate in the Secretary of State's race didn't get a lot of votes, but he has endorsed John Barrow. So little things like that, we will see, because I do think this is going to be close. This is not going to be a runaway. It's going to be very close. I do think. Is there like anything else? I mean, we can think of to talk about?
Yeah, I've got a question.
I'll go for it.
So.
I always have to get ready when you go to.
I'm holding on here.
What you got, Dave?
Well, I'm thinking that we all know, saying that with a big circumference here, that the voting, the voter logs they're dead people voting. They're superficial. There are a lot of problems on our voting rolls.
Yes.
We know that. And then Bill and a bunch of guys a long time ago sent, with their own money, sent a bunch of letters out to all the voters, and the ones that came back, no one lives here, no address, blah, blah, blah. They presented them to someone and they said, so what? So the question is, why is it such a bad thing that she wants to go over all the voting rolls if it's a fair, it's open, it's transparent, we have Republicans looking over, if we just go through all those voting rolls and really do it right, that would be a good thing, I believe.
There's multiple reasons. Let me ask you this. It's not a trick question, but I do want to hear your answer. There's multiple reasons why we purge voting rolls.
Big word.
And what do you think are the two leading reasons we purge voting?
In reality, or the ones?
No, the reality. What do you think is the legal reasons why your Secretary of State sets up laws, which we do know that the purging the voting rolls is actually a Democrat law. If you read, it was actually a Democrat law when the Democrats had control of the state of Georgia. This purging goes back to the Democrat control of the Senate and the House.
It just wasn't done for quite some time.
Right, it wasn't.
So Kemp came in, and then he tried to catch up. And then he gets accused of.
And then you have signatures that don't even match, and they say, "Well, that didn't count."
Every law is on the books that cannot enforce itself. Every law has enforcement. Realistically, when a police officer pulls you over, you could look at the police officer and say, you could choose not to enforce this today.
Right.
and they do that sometimes.
That way you've given him a good laugh.
It might be a joke, but it's true. I mean, you're doing 65, you're supposed to be doing 55, right?
Let us know how that goes when you use it. Let us know how that goes.
I used it recently.
Me too. No warning on voting, though.
Okay, stop. You had your paw in the air, waving it like you just don't care.
I mean, purging is common sense, because a week after...
What are the two major reasons we...
Death and people that move.
Death and moving.
Moving.
Yeah, and a week later, people
Right.
have died and people have moved.
People move. Right. Okay, so the reality is you purge because you don't know if somebody has not voted. I think the third cycle, we'll just use it, I forget what it is, the third voting cycle, you are supposed to look, and it's on the local level, not state. The counties are charged with that responsibility of purging their rolls. So every time they came out and attacked somebody about voter suppression, they were really attacking the people over here in this office that were doing their job. Now, it goes to a level that they don't want to talk about. So let's say you have somebody that lives here in Fannin County, and they move. They move to Cherokee County, All right? They don't change their residence. They don't change their voting. They change nothing. And you have a commissioner's race. Forget the governor's race. You have a commissioner. Your local commissioner here is on the ballot. Do you want that person to drive up 30, 45 minutes to your county and vote against your commissioner and they don't live here? That's why you purge. Not the Stacey Abrams. Get Stacey Abrams. People need to get that out of there. That's why you purge. Is the people that move 3 counties away. You don't want them coming back and voting in your Board of Education. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you don't want dead people. So it's very reasonable why you purge the voter roll.
But when the president, right after he got elected, asked the Secretary of States throughout the U.S. to go through and do this, it was offensive, and he was doing it to keep people from voting.
Right.
So why is that? When it's a law made by the Democrats, it's offensive when you're asked to do it.
I don't understand to keep people from voting. I'm just problems. I'll tell you what, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't.
The reason they're saying that is because, like Stacey Abrams, you've got plenty of sound bites that say documented and undocumented people.
Right.
That's what they want, is to get just anybody to walk up and vote.
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly.
We don't have these kind of problems except for when you hit these major metropolitan areas that are controlled by Democrat Commission Board in the county, Democrat Board of Elections. You don't have that till you hit that. Look at Broward County.
That's the worst in the country.
Well,
they were talking about people that had moved away 3 years ago, and they were still getting absentee ballots at their new address from Broward County.
Corruption pays, man.
Huh?
Corruption pays.
Man, let me tell you.
She's leaving with $130,000 a year pension.
But the thing is, there's anytime you have a lawsuit and then say they win, that sets a precedence. So that's what they're trying to do, is build up a precedence so they can flout the next presidential election.
Before I forget, I'm going to say we, because they're going to agree with me. I think Bruce was off gallivanting somewhere. We'll throw him in. Okay.
I went to Savannah.
That doesn't count. Bruce is a...
Is that where you get pulled over for speeding?
Is that where you got? Tell us more. No. Okay, wait. Let's not lose control. We want to thank you, because we were not here Friday, but Friday before last, because you really brought up a home run here on the show with the Florida Agriculture Commissioner race down there. I went home Friday after you brought that up, and you said everybody was glossing over that. And I studied that weekend, and Rick will tell you I did that on the show that Monday. I went on the show Monday, and I said, look, everybody, I said, Candace brought it up Friday, everybody's glossing over this Florida Agriculture
We talked about it at lunch Friday.
Yes, we talked about it. We left and went to lunch. Rick and I went to lunch with some friends of ours, and we talked about it. And a friend of ours from Florida said, yes, the Ag Commissioner has the power over that Second Amendment, that the gun
Carry law.
Yes, carry law.
Concealed carry permits.
Concealed carry permit.
And they've got the process, and when you have the process, you own it, because you can
and they
slow
did not
walk
stop
it.
counting votes in Florida.
And the Democrat won.
Till they got the Democrat in, and the Democrat happened to be from
Broward County.
What do you know?
The Democrat happened to be a public defender in Broward County, right on the system. So.
Yeah.
Working hand in hand with the sheriff.
I don't know. Can we think of anything else to talk about?
Well, they do it because they can do it. They do it because the Republicans are spineless.
That's it.
I mean,
spineless.
Spineless. I can think of worse words I shouldn't.
I would use up George Patton's word of yellow.
Well, I just
That's
can't
racist
understand
and
it.
offensive.
I mean, I
For
can't
yellow
understand
people?
why we don't bulldoze in with something that's substantial when they bulldoze in with just
BS.
hogwash.
They're never
we
in fear
just
of the
stand there and
results.
say, "Oh
As you
my
said
gosh."
before.
No, we're not. We're not doing.
If we
that.
could cycle back to the Georgia elections, the numbers, the closeness of the race, not just governor and the other races. I mean, do you see a shift towards more blue?
Yes,
Gosh,
absolutely.
Because you said Nathan Deal brought in all these blue
Absolutely.
corporations.
I can give you 5 or 6, and here's the thing I talked about last week on my show is I'm on social media, and all these groups are wanting to do little meet and greet and think tanks so we can talk about how we are going to attract. And this one gets me. I'm going to go to one Tuesday night. I'm not going to tell you where it's at because I don't want to give it away. But I'm going to go to one Tuesday night because I want to sit in the back of the room. It's in Metro Atlanta. Okay? And there's a group that's going to do a panel in Metro Atlanta to figure out how to get Republicans back in the suburbs of Atlanta. I think all they have to do is be Republicans, and they can get them back.
Yeah.
But they're going to get together. They're getting together in these groups, and I'm seeing it. I go through social media.
You sure that isn't against the law? You ask
It
the
might be.
Democrats,
We might have to pass a law.
No, I'm saying this facetiously, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll tell you how you get them back. Just be Republicans.
Stand up for something.
They're specifically going after the white suburban woman.
Right.
Because we don't know enough to vote for ourselves.
Right.
We have to ask the mister. As they
Just
say.
ask me if you got any questions. I got you. I
Well,
got you.
wait a minute. Now let's touch on that a minute. All right, to your question on that, yes, the vote is too close in Georgia. The one thing you have to face the facts is the last gubernatorial election in Georgia, Nathan Deal won by 250,000 votes against Jason Carter, which is Jimmy Carter's grandson. So there was a 250,000 vote gap. Stacey Abrams, you can cringe if you want. She's a smart lady. This lady is
No
this
question.
Is a smart lady. It's a very smart lady.
Jason had also offended a lot of people in the 2012 when Romney ran, and he was spying on him or released that video that said something disparaging about people that won't work. So I think that's why a lot of people did not like him.
Well, if you go back the last couple elections, Democrats knew they had a 250,000 vote gap, basically. They had that 250 gap. And I will say this, Stacey Abrams, as my old friend used to say, by hook or by crook, okay, said that after the last election, she was going to figure out how to get that 250,000 votes. And she worked very hard to do that. And the reality is she brought it down to a 50,000 gap.
That's why she started the nonprofit, right? To get people signed up.
But what I'm saying is, they knew they needed to shrink this. Now you take Obama, you take Organizing for America, you take the Democrat Redistricting Committee, National Redistricting, you take Tom Steyer out of California, and you take Bloomberg, and you take Soros, and you take the Hollywood left, and the money poured in. I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I do think Georgia Republicans better get behind closed doors and say, whoa, the party might be over. That's my opinion. What say you? It's
the same as, one of the reasons, like you touched on before, is all these northeastern corporations that have been coming down and relocating in Georgia. I mean, those primarily are blue states. So what do? They transpose the blue state voters down to this state, which has been red. And mix the colors, they become purple.
Well, I do think there's a lot to be said with transplanting and buying companies to come to town. Now, on one thing I go to a lot of these things where you're sitting in the back of the room and, politicians stand up front and they say we created 144,000 jobs, okay? And then, we gave them this tax break and we gave them this tax break. Look at Amazon. Look at what happened. Now, we were told that if we passed a religious freedom bill in Georgia, we would alienate these corporations from coming here out of discrimination, right? Mm-hmm. Amazon picked two of their locations that have a bill that we've tried to pass. You see what I'm saying?
But it doesn't matter if you get a huge tax break like they get.
Exactly.
And then they're not paying their share of, and I hate to agree with her, but she's correct. Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez says the subway's crumbling. All these things are going down. Our infrastructure over the whole United States is going down. Why would we not want them to pay their fair share? They're going to make money either way. Why do we have to make it so they make it, hand over fist when they could just make it, one handful at a time, like the rest of us?
I get a little... Okay. I don't want to have any Bernie Sanders moments.
Well, your hair looks much better.
But there's a side of me that I despise corporate welfare. I despise corporate welfare.
They've always been that way.
I think true capitalism is you get up in the morning, you put a business plan together, and you have You know, it's so much percent is the energy, and so much percent is the drive, and so much percent is the vision, and then so much percent is the capital, and can you sell it and make all that come true, and that's what you do, all right? Because I am going to say this, and I want to move on to another subject. I seriously do. If you don't understand this, and I'll say this nicely, then we can discuss it later. We actually do pay people $15 an hour. Okay, we do. So every time they yell minimum wage, we pay them $15 an hour, whether you believe it or not. Because if the box store only pays them $8, by the time you subsidize the apartment, by the time you subsidize the milk off the shelf, by the time you subsidize everything else because they qualify, let me tell you something. You're paying $8. They're paying $8, and you're paying $7, and they're getting $15.
At
and
least.
we give. So I'm not advocating. I want to be clear. I'm not advocating a mandated minimum wage. I'm advocating wipe all corporate welfare out. And guess what? If you want somebody to work for you, you'll have to pay them enough for them to be able to live to work for you.
I agree.
Am I wrong?
Yeah,
That's
right.
capitalism defined.
That is.
Exactly.
We don't need so much. I mean, if you're sick or disabled and it's provable, that's one thing. But if you're 25 years old and sitting home, I don't have any use for that. Or even if you're working for $8 an hour, but like in my situation, when I try to hire, well, I don't want to work too many hours, and then I'll lose my benefits. Oh, I don't want to work that weekend because I've got stuff to do. They're not interested in working hard because life is too easy. And if you make it so it's not so easy, then you're going to be willing to work.
Listen, not everybody's parents lied to them like mine. They lied to us so bad when we were kids. Biggest lie my dad ever told is when you get your work done, you can go play.
Yeah, but they didn't
Somehow
say
we
when
never
that
got
was.
our work done. I did. You get your work done, you can go play.
I want to tell you a
Wait a minute.
story.
Something wrong with that.
What does he call play? So I had the Sycamore downtown, and I hired a very young woman. She was 18. She'd flitting around. She'd worked for cash only. In Sycamore, we paid our taxes, sent them in. So she was spouting all this liberal stuff, and I just listened. You can't talk to a liberal, period. And when it's
Exactly.
18, it's,
It's even
forget it,
worse.
save your breath. So her first paycheck, I had taken out X amount, whatever it was, and she knew exactly how much she was supposed to get because she was counting how much I was paying her an hour, and she looked at that check and she said, "What is this?" I said, "That's your check with," I said, "But that's what the tax is taken out." And she looked at me and she screamed, "But I worked hard for this money and you can't take any of that out. 'Cause I worked hard." She ran around the store like a chicken with their head cut off. And I said, "Get used to the real world. You have got to get your head on straight and see what's
Let me tell you where
happening."
you're wrong there. No, you asked somebody to get used to the real world.
That's not the real world.
No.
Yeah.
We have created that as the real world.
Yeah, we
That's
have.
their real world. Because let me tell you something. I used to have truck drivers, and I love the guys, all right? And I had some lady truck drivers, okay? But I used to employ a lot of truck drivers. And I always said, if you want a revolution in this country, don't everybody go off a revolution, but if you want to create a revolution in this country, give everybody all their money. So if I say I'll give you $500 a week, there you go, here's your $500, and then make you go down to the tax commissioner's office on Saturdays between 8 to 12 once a month, and you hand your money through the counter to somebody, and you hand it to them and let them take it and say, "Those you just paid your taxes." You'll have a revolution tomorrow.
Now, Matt,
But
you
let me
find
tell you
that
something. I'd
Medicare.
have truck drivers, and they'd come in and they'd interview with me, and they would say, "I just need this after taxes." They didn't care what taxes was. I need to take home $600. That's just whatever you got to do. I got to take home $600.
Whatever you got to pile on top of it.
You
right.
gross it up.
To
That's
net me
exactly
out.
right.
So what I'm saying is that is the real world they're in today because they've already changed the mindset. The generation's mindset is changed, done and over with. You take it out of your pocket. When we go to the store and we take the money out of our pocket, okay, and count it out, we actually look at the difference of, is this 8 cents less than that? Right? We do.
Yeah.
But you don't as much when you use a debit card because you're mentally, you don't see the cash, so you don't think about it as hard.
Yeah.
You would be surprised how many people don't know that employers match FICA
Yeah, I was
and
just going to
Medicaid.
say, she paid her taxes, but I matched
You
them.
match it, so
Came out of my money.
You're
and
They
it was
should
a
teach
lot
that
of
in
money.
school,
Well,
but they
hello.
don't. All right, what time is it?
FUTA and SUTA is
All right,
also
listen, we're going to take a quick break.
9:05.
employer
All right,
responsibility.
we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got to get to Russia. We got to get to Trump.
We got to get to airing of the grievances.
The airing of the grievances. We got so much to do. Bruce, you got us stuck on this election stuff. Great stuff. How are you doing?
Not bad.
Glad to have you.
I could ask you something on the break though.
On the break. Ooh,
The break is what's the
We'll
juicy
be right
part.
back right after this.